Welcome to Take 5 with the Top 50, the video series with Atlantic Business Magazine's Top 50 CEOs. Each episode, we ask 5 questions to find out what makes these award-winning CEOs tick. I'm Krista Han, the Managing Partner in New Brunswick, with presenting sponsor Grant Thornton. In this episode, I'm talking with Keith McIntosh, CEO of PQA Testing, as well as the founder and CEO of Plato Testing. Keith McIntosh has led his award-winning software testing company, PQA Testing, from his home province of New Brunswick for more than 20 years and has grown the company into a multi-million-dollar organization with more than 150 employees. He also founded Plato Testing, the world's first Indigenous-led and staffed software testing company that has injected more than $8 million into the Indigenous economy and has created a lasting impact in more than 50 communities across Canada. I'm absolutely honored to spend time with you today, Keith. So grateful for this opportunity. Your journey has been one that has inspired me, and I look forward to getting the chance to talk with you about these questions. So with that, why don't we go ahead and get started? So Keith, I hear that you grew up upriver from here in Carleton County, so just upriver from where you and I sit in Fredericton today. And that is certainly a long way away from software analysis. And I'd love to hear how growing up on a farm, how you think that's shaped and influenced your life and your career.
Well, I was in a meeting the other day with 4 different people, and they're all entrepreneurs from Carleton County. So I think that's a good place to start. I grew up on a farm in a small community, in a potato farming area in a small community, and you learned a bunch of stuff. You learned that you need to go and do hard work to get through the end of the day and be successful. And it doesn't matter what the work is; the work still has to get done. So that's great training for an entrepreneur for starting your own business. That there are good days and bad days, but the work has to get done. The other thing about growing up in a farming community is that you learned that, if your neighbor needed help, you went and helped your neighbor. And if you needed help, your neighbor's going to come help you. And that, all those things you learn when you're a kid, you don't really realize that it's going to affect you later on. But certainly that's a big part of why we're doing Plato, which I'm sure we'll talk about here later on, is that businesses don't exist in a vacuum. They exist in a community and exist with all the other parts of the community, and it doesn't work unless they all support each other.
Okay, so, and I'm also told, Keith, that this is a quote from you, that you've said that good business leadership requires 3 things: agility, compassion, and perseverance. And I could hear a little bit about some of that, I think, when I heard you just talk about community, but I'd love to hear a bit more about what that means for you, those 3 things.
Well, I do. It takes agility because you never know what tomorrow is going to throw to you. We started out as a small company here in Fredericton trying to do automated testing, and we've run through the Y2K bug, and we've run through .com bust, and whatever the financial crisis was, and we've opened new offices and moved across the country. And there's no one path. When you start, there's no roadmap that says this is how you'll get there. So you need to be able to be, who knew that we were going to have coronavirus shut us down or not shut us down? Who knew we were going to have to actually operate through coronavirus for 2 years? So agility, be able to take and adjust on the fly and make decisions that can see through. You don't always make the right decision. So sometimes agility is correcting the mistakes you made. And I forgot what else you said. Compassion. We're all. It's about it. You have to understand that what you, as a business owner, as a business leader, what you do affects lots of other people, and you have to. I think that I've learned. I know I probably didn't know this on day one, but I've learned over that you have to take that into consideration and be able to help others and know that you're going to need. You can't do this on your own. We're all in this in one big ecosystem that we all need to help, respect, take care of the people around you. And I forgot the third part of your question.
No problem. The third one, I like your answers for the first two. So the third one was perseverance.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that goes back to a little bit of the answers the first two. Doesn't matter. It's not always going to be roses. It's not always a straight path. And I've a lot of people would if you ask people around the community one thing about me, is I do what I set out to do, no matter. I guess I don't have a lot of quit in me. I keep going until I get where I want to be.
And that's probably that's a perfect definition of perseverance right there. Making it happen, no matter the obstacles, hurdles.
And there are no shortcuts. It really doesn't. If you're hoping to get rich quick or get rich tomorrow, that's not how it works. There are no shortcuts. Everything takes time. Everything takes a lot of effort, and you have to be willing to put that time in.
Plato Testing was founded so that you could provide opportunities to our Indigenous community. And I understand that your original goal was to have 1,000 Indigenous software testers. And I would love to hear more about your motivation and your passion for making this happen. And love to hear about your thoughts on maybe even some of the challenge from a systemic standpoint, what we're facing here, and how important you think that contribution is for our Indigenous communities across Canada.
Yeah, well, I mean, Plato was founded for a few reasons, and one is that we're in IT and we have more jobs than we have people do it. We need more people. And when I was thinking about this, the Truth and Reconciliation report came out in 2015 and highlighted, and I already knew some of the issues and had been connected or close to First Nations prior to that, but to really have it brought out into a spotlight shone on it. So business community needs to do something, and I really believe that Canadians want to do something about it. But how do you figure out what that is? Well, we had an opportunity. It seems like it's such a big problem that it's too hard to start. Nobody can fix it. Nobody can solve it. But you can take little steps. And we had this opportunity. We needed people, the Indigenous demographic of 15 to 30 or whatever is the fastest growing demographic in Canada. They need jobs. We need those are the people we need in IT. They need opportunities. Why not try and marry them all together? And the goal is 1,000 people, and it's only 1,000 people because that's a number on the way to 2,000. It's not the end goal, but it's a reasonably big goal to go chase. But I do think it's doable. We've spent 5 years now, 6 years, sort of figuring it out and proving that it works. And we just recently, just last week, got a couple of big deals that will really make a big difference in the next year. So we'll be back in next year, hopefully double the size we are now. But yeah, it's a real goal. It's a doable goal, and there's companies and corporations and people all across Canada that are helping us get there. It turns out that it's not just a simple matter of offering somebody a job, offering Indigenous people jobs, because they aren't necessarily out there with the training or the ability. So we had to build a training course for it. Somebody asked me if not could they do it on their own, but what's the important thing that we do? And it's not just training. It's not just the job. I think that what we're doing is trying to give them the training and then take their hand, figuratively through and help them through the door. It's not enough to teach them to fish. You have to actually create the place for them to fish, and maybe you have to stock the pond a little bit, because there is systemic racism and challenges. It's not just, can I get a job? Can I get the training? It's, who do I know that would offer me a job? Who do I know in those places that are going to be looking like me or have much same history as me, that I won't feel isolated all the time? There are a lot of things that have to go into that. And I think we've been, Plato and PQA are agile enough, and perseverance and agility, which we talked about earlier. We've stuck with it. We're going to wait, and we're going to stick with it and lead people through, both Indigenous people into IT, but probably as equally hard is bringing IT companies to Indigenous people. We can be agile enough to say, okay, we can help bridge that gap and let Deloitte or TD Bank or MB Power hire Indigenous people in white-collar jobs, and we can help facilitate that. So it fits back into the first question, I guess, Krista.
You know what? I was going to say the exact same thing. It sounds to me like it goes right back to that community. This is the, when your neighbor needs a hand, you're going to help them, and that when you need a hand, your neighbor's going to help you. It's just on a different type of scale, and it's really targeted. It's really focused in an area where certainly our country needs some target and some focus for sure.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'd be remiss to move on to the next question without saying that I really appreciate the contribution you make and the inspiration you are for our community, Keith. It means a lot to me personally, so thank you for that.
It's it's rewarding every day. It makes you, and it gives you a reason to get up and come to work every day and to work right through it, because it's rewarding. You can see that you can help people, make a difference in people's lives, both in, we talk to CEOs and executives all across the country, and you can make a difference in their life. It's not just making a difference in Indigenous kid's life, a First Nations kid on a reserve or Inuit. It's also making a difference in lives like you, like Susan, like myself. So it's good. It's a good thing.
Exactly. It makes a difference for people who care. So obviously, you're in the business of software testing, and things are moving quick in your world. What do you think we can expect in terms of what's next, like technological wave or evolution? What do you think's coming at us?
Well, I think I used to think I knew the answer to that. And then then coronavirus came, and it's pandemic. So I don't know that you can exactly predict what the normal is going to look like, what tomorrow is going to look like right now, and that nobody quite knows how this is going to play out. But I think it's been good for us. In technology, there's more and more of it. It's in everything we do and everything we think about. And there's always going to be testing, but that testing is moving from a manual process to artificial intelligence and machine learning. It's moving to security and that sort of stuff. But that means the skill sets need to go up in a different scope. But from my point of view as a tester, and our company's point of view as a tester, there's not a lack of opportunity. It just increases every time. It just increases the opportunities. But pandemic has helped, I think, a bit, and it's brought focus to our local communities. It's sort of exposed some of the risks of a completely global supply chain. So mm-hmm. I think it's going to help us, because we are a Canadian company. We are keeping work. We started out being a Brunswick company and keeping working in Brunswick. We're now a Canadian company keeping working in Canada and bringing work to remote parts of Canada. So there's an interest to make sure we keep some of our supply chain local. And it's also shown that work can be done from, at the same time we want to keep it local, it's also showing that work can be done from anywhere. And that's good for Plato. That means that, our Plato is a goal of 1,000 people, not just in downtown Toronto and downtown Vancouver and downtown Calgary, but in slightly more remote places or rural places like Miramichi, like Sault Ste. Marie, like Regina, but then even further afield than that, into places like Fort St. John and La Ronge and Listigis and so it's shown that the work can be done anywhere as long as we have the ability to train people how to do it and then broadband access to do it. So I think that the argument of I want to work with you, but you need to be in downtown Toronto went away. At the same time, I think that I would rather work. It's cheaper to send offshore. Also went away a little bit because we need to have some control. So, all in all, I think it's good for us.
I'd love to hear what advice you'd have for, I'm going to say, aspiring entrepreneurs, or perhaps a path you'd like to walk down is for other business owners that would love to make a difference in their community, like PQA and Plato have.
Well, I think that there's really just one answer. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, you should be doing it. You don't do it because you want to get rich. You should be doing it because you want to make a difference. And if you have the ability and the brains and the fortitude to go and start your own business, do something that's going to make a difference in the world. And that's what makes it so much fun for me. It's not always fun, I guess, but get you through the hard times. Sometimes is that you're doing something that's worthwhile, that will make somebody's life better, whether it's one person or a community or a country, whatever it is. I think that entrepreneurs entrepreneurs, when you start a business, you're going to need support from an awful lot of people. You need from educational systems and governments and other. You have a bit of a obligation, a duty to pay that forward or back or pay it. So I think that's one piece of advice I would say is consider doing it for reasons beyond just getting rich. It's worthwhile. It really is. That would probably. I guess the other piece of advice is when you look at a problem, and entrepreneurs are I think inherently optimistic. We always think that it's going to be better tomorrow. We're going to succeed. Nobody goes into business thinking they're going to fail. Nobody does. But sometimes you stay away from big problems because they're so big, and I think that's holds us back. So the other thing would be don't worry if the problem looks too big. Take it one step at a time. PKI and Plato is trying to solve reconciliation in our country, and that we aren't going to solve it, but we're going to take a little step. We're going to move the bar a little bit further for the next person.